Spiritual enlightenment, realization, oneness and so on, they're just terms, words that the mind uses to describe and categorize things as it always does. Why focus on spiritual enlightenment's existence? It seems to be a fantasy right now, right? Why not focus on something more tangible, more practical, something physical and real like you? In spiritual communities, there is this glamorized idea of ascension, through which people find some sort of comfort for not being at peace with their physical realities. They fantasize on the idea that the body is useless, the physical world is worthless, and that everyone should ascend to higher chakras consciousness and in doing so, become spiritually awakened or enlightened, or statistically, delusional. If you think about this idea, it somehow suggests that the creator of all life was stupid enough to lock people into bodies and a physical world, not realizing that ascending them to higher consciousness would be better for them poor souls. Seriously? What those people do is just an escape, a mental concept, a belief into one's own spiritual nature and not an actual reality. It's sad, but people prefer the idea of being spiritual rather than doing the actual spiritual work. They attach spirituality as part of who they are. They might not understand all of this, but at least, they are spiritual, and you'd better not tell them to stop being vegan or chanting Om. This whole pop culture around spirituality created an avalanche of words and terms that are now freely circulating in nature, and thus creating a gigantic amount of confusion, one of them being, why does spiritual enlightenment exist? Spiritual enlightenment is just a term. Take it as waking up from your sleep. Does it mean you're asleep now? Of course not, you are reading this, but at the same time your mind is racing in many directions, it is thinking about what you must do right after reading this, it is getting impatient and telling you, dude, is this answer gonna end? It is thinking about what happened yesterday, or before reading this. If you're not careful enough, it suggests a memory that is linked to someone or something that triggers your emotional response, which drags you like a river. Suddenly your mood changes, you might feel angry or sad about it, and before realizing it you might lose your desire to read anything more and jump to something else in order to cope with those feelings most people don't know how to deal with. How many times did such things happen? It is most people's lives, every day, every night, the same patterns, the same ruminating on the past, the same running towards the future and the same sense of misery without really knowing why. This lifestyle is called normal by society, it is the norm. It is unconscious because it happens without your wanting for it to happen. You could try forcing yourself into not thinking or feeling anything, but that is just an action that will provoke a stronger reaction. It just works this way. And this state of unconscious living isn't being awake, it is being asleep. This is a very simple way to put it. It is much, much, much deeper than this. But it will do the job for now. Spiritual enlightenment simply means choosing a different way to live. One in which you are conscious of what you do, one in which you choose how to live. Because life is a school, and your body is a learning device. Spiritual enlightenment is part of our evolutionary process as souls. While our souls are incarnated, over as many lifetimes as it takes, we gradually begin to see through our avidya, or ignorance, to understand what we truly are, an expression of the divine through human, or other, form. As that expression, we both create in the physical world as agents of divine will, and act as a sort of lens through which the divine experiences its creation. This is occurring for all humans. The difference between being enlightened or not is basically determined by whether we are aware of our true self as divine in nature, and align with it, or whether we resist it and choose to remain aligned with consensus reality. Important caveat, it is not enough just to know what enlightenment is because you've read about it somewhere. It must be discovered through devoted personal practice and experienced fully as part of the awakening process. A good teacher can facilitate this and help with the speed bumps and psychological integration. It is not easy work. Otherwise we're just play acting around with monumental truths that we don't fully understand, and that can cause more harm than good. Spiritual enlightenment exists because it is a solution to our problems. It is a way to transcend all misery and suffering, it is a way to realize God. It is a way to attain the ultimate purpose of life. If there was no spiritual enlightenment, we would live as the body, mind and ego, we would die and we would be reborn again and again. Spiritual enlightenment as a way to escape from samsara, the cycle of death and rebirth. It is this spirituality that helps us to overcome our actions, karma, and transcend it, to ultimately be united with God. Spiritual enlightenment not only overcomes ignorance when we are alive, but at death it also liberates us from rebirth and unites us with the divine. Therefore, spiritual enlightenment is a solution, the purpose, the final goal of life.